Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Manifest with me, Rebecca G. I'm your manifestation, meditation, and mindset coach who blends equal measures of soul, strategy, and a little sprinkle of science on the side. Consider me your modern day pink witch with my spiritual toolbox packed full of ideas to energize and inspire you, and to put the action into the law of attraction. Let this podcast be your weekly fix because, my beautiful soul, it is time to turn your vision board into a reality. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to Sacred Souls today. So I am so blessed today to be joined by the beautiful Jenna O'Keefe. I've wanted this girl on my podcast for a long time. Got a little bit of a girl crush on this one. I've been listening to your podcast on my walk, and anyone who's in business, you're just going to adore this lady. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because you just said your business is sort of changing, but I know that you're here for the business women who are looking to remove self-limiting beliefs, level up. So tell us all about you, Jenna. I want to hear about you.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So my name's Jenna O'Keefe. I'm a confidence and breathwork coach. I do business mentoring as well. And my whole passion and purpose is helping ambitious women to peel back the layers so that they can become more unapologetically themselves. Like, I believe that actually when we drop the kind of need to people please, when we stop giving a shit what people think of us, we become so powerful, and actually that's where the magic happens. So really, I believe that I was put on this earth to help women just fall in love with themselves again and just wake up feeling excited and energized and driven. So I've created a whole business around that, basically.
I love that. And how did you get into it? So tell us your background. Have you always been into coaching and things, or did you start as people always start some other path and then they come into it, don't they? So
yeah, that's definitely true. So I found coaching really early. So I must have been like a kid listening to Tony Robbins stuff, and I've got three older brothers, and I remember my brother was like, what the hell are you listening to? What are you doing? Why aren't you normal? And so I really fell in love with like motivational speakers. Like back in the noughties, it was all about motivational speakers, and a lot of them. And I remember actually in one of my corporate jobs seeing a motivational speaker, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I would love to do that. There was just something that I found so magnetic about it. Like I feel like others were like not really that bothered, but for me, there was something there. But obviously when you're so much younger, you kind of ignore these things, you get sidetracked. And for me, I was always like a party girl, right? I loved going out, loved partying. Oh my God, I was so naughty, I was always in trouble. And so I kind of really went down this route of just building a career to fund the party, basically. So I moved to London after uni, and I started my work in marketing, worked my way up from there, and was pretty successful in that career. But I was surrounded by people who were like, I want to be director of the marketing team, I want to be creative director of this. And I just remember feeling like, oh, I so wish that I wanted that, but I just know that I don't. And it was this moment of like, oh, I really don't know what I wanted to do. But at the same time, I did know what I wanted to do. I was just scared. So I actually set up my Instagram page in 2016, and it was called the Positivity Project then. And it was basically like a positivity blog, and I never put my face on it, and it was just a hobby. And it took me 4 years to actually like have the courage and I don't know, give myself permission to be like.
So you didn't show your face that whole time? Really?
No, 4 years didn't show my face. I don't know why.
It shows you, doesn't it, that you can build a brand without showing your face. That is incredible.
Oh my God, like I had so much success on it, and people were messaging me all the time, and I still get people messaging. I still get people like liking and commenting the old like pictures that I used to do. I used to do quotes with these kind of like watercolor backgrounds. And I just knew that I loved it. And I knew that I loved coaching, and I was very aware that coaching was a thing, but it was always the blocks of who's going to listen to me? I don't have enough money for a coaching certification. I'm not good enough. I'm not old enough. I don't have the life experience to do this. And then I went to an event for, I was working in a marketing agency at the time, and I met a life coach and had a conversation with him. And I said, like, I've always wanted to be a life coach, but I just can't afford it. And he's like, well, if you're you'll never be able to afford it then if you're saying that, you know,
It's
if
so
you're
true,
waiting
isn't
to be
it?
ready, you're never going to be ready. And that changed the game for me. And we went into lockdown and I was like, do you know what?
Mm,
This is it. Like that one comment. I wish I could find this guy now just to be like, that was
yeah,
such that was such a shifting moment for me where I was like, actually, why can't I do this? Why can't I
yeah,
just try? And it was actually from that moment on, I just knew that I would be successful. Like I knew that it was from
yeah.
when I did the coaching certification. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
Sometimes you need that little slap, a kind slap around the face, don't you? A bit of
He
like,
was so brutal. He
like,
was
yeah,
like, okay, well, do you want to be broke your whole life? Like, is this the
yeah,
excuse? I was literally like, no, no,
yeah.
I
But
don't
you
want to be.
needed to hear that rather than, oh, you'll get there. Sometimes you don't need
If he'd
that.
have said that, if he'd have said,
Mm.
oh, we'll just give it a couple of years, who knows what would have happened, right? Like, but he was like, nobody's ever ready. Like, ready for what? Like,
What did you? What was the course you did? What was the first one you went into?
So the first,
Did you
that
do
one that
NLP? I think I saw on your site. Did you do NLP?
yeah, I've done
Yeah.
NLP. The first course I did was with the Click, which is a coaching certification. I'm not sure if you knew them. So it's I really liked that coaching certification because it blends like feminine energy,
Yeah.
energetics into it. It wasn't the kind of corporate coaching where it's like the corporate style coaching is like you're not allowed to say anything, you just have to ask questions. And
Right.
that I didn't
Oh, I
really
couldn't
align.
do that. I couldn't keep my mouth shut.
I know, like, oh, like I'd had that type of coaching and I just found it really irritating. So, yeah, I found that certification and then I added on certifications after that, like breathwork, trauma certifications, like,
Mm.
and just kept building from there. But it was really that first
You're a
certification.
good contact to have, actually, because in my membership, there's a course in there for a lot of healing the chakras. And a lot of people are coming up saying, I'm healing this, but I need a trauma coach. Have you got someone I can recommend? So I'm going to send them to you now. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like,
So I'm like, I actually don't know anyone that does trauma coaching. So I'm like, as soon as you said that, I was like, I know two people that actually need you right now. So there we go.
oh, send it over.
Meant to
Yeah.
be.
So
Yeah.
that's all kind of paired in with like the
Mm.
breathwork work that I do. So it's less so kind of talking about the traumatic experiences, and I believe that your body will just heal it, like through a
Yes.
practice like breathwork your body can just heal itself, like
Breathwork is breathwork was something I really resisted. I did MBA, the Manifestation Babe course.
yes, yes,
She has
yes.
a lot of breathwork in there. And the first time we did it, I'm a meditation coach. I had
Mm.
so much resistance to it. I was just like, oh, this is so annoying. Like I can't breathe properly. Like, why am I breathing like this? This is so and I could hear like my inner child from like my teenage, not inner actually, because that's normally like 7 years old, isn't it? It was like teenage Rebecca that was like rebelling and just didn't want to do it, like grumpy, shitty, like this is bullshit. Kind of like all this was coming out. And then the minute I relaxed into it, she said this was going to happen, and you just keep
Yeah,
breathing, and then all of a sudden you're breathing like that naturally. And
yeah.
I felt like I was on magic mushrooms. It was
It's
insane.
crazy,
And
right? Like
now I'm
something like
obsessed with
that.
it. But I
It's
can't do it on my own. I have to be guided. I still have to be guided. I have to listen to guided ones. Like I still have to listen to her guided ones. But I'm sure
yeah.
I'll get there probably like you do. You do. And tell me about your experiences with breathwork, because some people listening to this have got no idea what breathwork is. There's me talking about it's like magic mushrooms, but it's not like that for everybody.
It's really weird, right? Like, so when I first found breath work, I was really struggling with agoraphobia. So, like, for those that don't know who are listening, so agoraphobia is a type of anxiety where it's really difficult to leave safe spaces.
Yeah.
So, typically people see it as like, oh, you're scared of big open spaces, but it didn't really look like that for me. It was just being terrified of leaving the flat.
Wow.
I was living in central London at the time, so this was in 2020, probably late 2020, early 2021.
Yeah.
uh, I've always had agoraphobic tendencies, but because before lockdown we were out and about, I could never really I was always forced to leave because I had a job.
Yeah.
When lockdown hit, great, I didn't have anxiety for the time that we had at lockdown, but then when it came to coming back out,
Yeah.
it was incredibly triggering for me. Like even going to like Sainsbury's, which was 5-minute walk down the road, I would have like a panic attack. Like it was so bad. But and we were living in a one bed flat in central London, so it was just it was a really difficult time, and a
So
time
many,
where
and
I
so many people had that, but I didn't know it was called that. So many people even now have this after
yeah, and
lockdown.
it's I
Yeah.
think it's one of those things, like unless you deal with it and unless you hit, I think a lot of people kind of think, oh well, it's just lockdown, we'll just get over it. But breathwork was such a huge part of that for me, for releasing so much of this pent-up anxiety that I had in my body.
Yeah.
And so that regular breathwork practice helped me to firstly find safety in being uncomfortable. So the type of breathwork that I do, and it's similar to the breathwork that you have done, it's not very comfortable. It's not like just kind of relaxing like your yoga breath. It's really uncomfortable and it can feel really triggering. And I suppose the practice of that breathwork is finding safety whilst being really fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's amazing for people that live in anxious bodies, as I do, because you can learn to feel safe when you don't feel comfortable, right? You can find safety if you're feeling that discomfort. And so breathwork was a huge part of my journey for that. And then as I've progressed and as I've healed, like, I really do not have that anymore, which is incredible. Like, I'm kind of going all over the country.
I was going to ask that. That was my next question. Do you ever get, you don't ever get anything come up now? If you go to like a big event or something, does it come up?
So it's interesting, like from like a physical perspective, the thoughts are there, but I don't have the same physical reaction. So before I would have like a physical sensation of like sweating, needing to go to the toilet, feeling like big butterflies in my stomach. Whereas now I was on the panel for an event on Regent Street a couple of weeks ago, and the thoughts are there, like, are you really okay with this? Like, is this really okay? But my body is like completely relaxed. My body is
like, little ego coming up, being like, just here to remind you that I'm here.
So I think it's a process and it's a journey. So I guess like as I continue on the journey, I guess the thoughts will just kind of die down. Like, they're not really as overwhelming as they used to be, but they are still present. But I'm in the place now where it's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm literally fine. I'm good. I'm, like, you can relax. You don't have to be worried about this. I'm safe. And I can go and do what I have to do and perform well in front of audiences, because it's that catch-22, because I love meeting people. I love connecting with people in person. I love doing speaking events. And when your anxiety takes something like that from you, it can be really, really difficult. So it was a huge part of the healing process.
And so lovely that you're okay to talk about it as well. I think it's nice for women to hear this, that there's probably so many women that have other things that they feel anxious about, or, which might not want to talk about, because they're like, I can't say that to my friends or family.
So much shame.
Breathwork is, the shame, that's the word. That I've been talking recently about, I've never, ever had anxiety ever until recently, where I've just been waking up like at night, and I'm like, I've got so much to be grateful for. I've got so much going on. And then I had all this stuff come up that I was like, shit, there's things I need to deal with here that I haven't. And I did it through breath work and standing on my grass at 1 o'clock in the morning. My husband laughed at me. He's like, what were you doing in the garden at 1 o'clock in the morning? I was like, just grounding, just breathing. But I know, probably like you're like, okay, I need to sort this out. I'm not going to just sit on this and ignore it and put a plaster on it. I'm actually going to deal with this. And it's so empowering when you do that as a woman, when you're just like, okay, something's going on here with my body. I'm not feeling myself. I need to fix this. And the tools that we've got now, and things like breath work, is so powerful.
It's so powerful. And even if so now I don't really use breath work as such to clear anxiety, because it's kind of what I find is with myself and with my clients, like, once you've done a lot of that clearing, it's kind of cleared and you're kind of good. And so the breath work, your practice starts to change, and it starts to it's all about like clarity in my business. It's all about finding joy and excitement in my body. It's all about connecting with my body. And it's a very different experience, which is lovely, so it's the kind of practice that really grows with you, a bit like yoga, right? Like yoga kind of get different things from it. Breathwork is the same, and it's just lovely to know if you're feeling anxious, or maybe if you see a post on Instagram and you have that comparison, or you feel jealous, or you feel bitter, or any of those heavy feelings that don't feel nice. It's nice to be like, I'm going to go and do something about that, and then come back an hour later and be like, oh, I feel like me again.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
Are you ready to start manifesting and raising your vibration all at your fingertips? Introducing the Sacred Souls mobile app. Imagine having all of the tools you could possibly need to manifest and raise your vibration like never before, all in the palm of your hand, wherever you are in the world. Now, this membership is for you, my darling listener, if you are a beginner to manifesting and you're not sure what to do or how to get the wheels in motion. Maybe you're an old-time manifestor and you've just got stuck in the mud. You feel completely blocked and you're struggling to move forward. You might be anxious and on the edge, and you're really feeling like you want to start to take control of your energy, and you're wanting to really move forward with your manifestations, but you're a little bit overwhelmed trying to juggle life, and you want to find a space to start looking after you. If you've been on a spiritual journey for a while, then you will be ready to take things up a notch. There is something for everybody here. So are you ready for more? More money, more abundance, more love, more everything, and most importantly, more community. This is not just any app where you're going to be downloading things or watching videos and listening to audios. Yes, it's got all of that and beautiful workbooks within it, but you get to be part of a community and live calls and masterclasses as well. So are you ready to start creating the life of your dreams? Because I am ready to do that with you. Click the link in the show notes and join me today in my sacred community and start your manifesting journey within the Sacred Souls membership. I can't wait to see you there.
On our podcast quite a lot, we talk about manifesting and the law of attraction. Kind of, what's your view on that? I mean, are you into manifesting? I presume that you are, listening to your podcast, working with the law of attraction. Is it something that you have always practiced? I mean, you said since you were little, you've always kind of been interested in things like this.
I only really found the law of attraction probably in 2020, but I think I'd been practicing it maybe like a long time before. So I'd started journaling in 2016, but I'd really only started hearing about law of attraction, manifesting in 2020. And I think like I'm so passionate about manifesting, and I think so many people think, oh, it's woo, it's spiritual, but it's literally fucking science. Like you literally can't doubt it. And I think when I've spoken to people who have been a bit like, but I don't quite believe in it, it's like, well, let me simplify this for you. If you feel good, if you feel good, you feel confident, your energy is in a good place, you're going to be walking into a room like a completely different human being, and that like attracts like. You are going to get more conversations, more opportunities, meet more people. You're going to say yes to things when perhaps you might have said no before. And so I've always taken that approach with it, but especially now, I think I try and recalibrate my nervous system as much as I can, because it's been such an interesting journey with me. Like when I first started this work in 2017, so about 5-6 years ago, I had no money. I hated my job. I'd just been dumped. I was in a flat I couldn't afford, like really just not. I was drinking 25 pints a week. I had quite a big kind of alcohol.
I saw that on your website. That made me die with laughter. I was like, oh my God, 25 pints. I was probably 25 pills a week, but I was like, she looks like a party animal, just like I was. This is going to be a good podcast. This is so funny. And now I don't drink anything. I don't drink at all.
No,
2 years. Yeah, just gave it up. I was like, enough. My body can't take this anymore. Now go on. Sorry, carry on.
That's when you're in that space. And I just remember asking myself the question of like, who do I want to be in 5 years' time? And I actually found the journal the other day. I read it out on my podcast.
Like a diary entry.
Yeah, and it literally says on it, it's like in 5 years' time, November 2022, I'm going to be 30. And like, I'm like listing down all the things I want. And I'm like, I want to be driving a nice car. I want to have nice clothes. I want to have enough money in the bank so that I can get my hair done on any day of the week. And like that to me at the time was like aspirational. That was like, I couldn't even comprehend that, but I was like, that's a big goal. That's great. And so what I kind of started doing was I started acting as if I was the woman that had that. So when I started my business, I knew I wanted to hit that big milestone of 10K months that everybody talks about. So I'd ask myself the question of like, what does 10K month Jenna do? What does she invest in? How does she look after herself? And sure enough, once you start acting as her, your brain doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality.
Yeah.
And then you blink and you're like, oh, holy shit, I am there. I am, I'm driving a Range Rover. I bought a house, all of these kind of big milestones. And you think, wow, I have done that. And I think now I'm at the point where I had to like recalibrate that and be like, cool, let's reset. Where are we going over the next 5 years? So now I'm in that kind of phase 2 of manifesting.
And are you doing that again? Because that's what I was doing. I think that's the most powerful way to manifest. If you don't do anything, just that kind of acting as if before. Because when I before the car I've got now, I've got a 4x4 Mercedes. I was driving a Fiat 500 and I printed off the symbol of Mercedes and stuck it on my steering wheel.
Oh my God, I love that.
My husband used to take the piss out of me. It's like, What you like? I was like pretending every day. I was like driving my Mercedes and I was like looking at my beautiful interior. Yeah, it fucking works. I love doing stuff like that. And like I say this now to my husband, this is why I buy nice clothes. And he's like, do you really need any more clothes? I'm like, I'm living this millionaire lifestyle, Bev.
Yeah. But it is, I think, energetically, like when we got our new Range Rover, Tom came to pick me up and I sat in it and I was like, this doesn't feel like ours. Like this doesn't, I was like, the luxury of it, I was just like, oh my God, and I was like, I need
they're like sitting, I test drove one of them. I'm not their Range Rover yet, but I will be. But they are like sitting on a sofa. I've never sat in such a comfortable, I was like, Kevin, this is so nice.
Honestly, I was driving my dad's van like 3 years ago, like, and you know when you're like, I'm not here yet, I'm not ready.
Oh my God, like Postman Pat, what you like? That's so funny.
I'm driving this every day so that I can recalibrate to, like, it's like we jumped and then my nervous system is like trying to catch up. But it is that like recalibrating to be like, this is mine, I deserve this, I deserve to drive around in a Range Rover, I deserve to feel really luxurious as I'm driving around. And it does something to your energy where it's like, fuck yes, cool, like, and then it's almost like you set the boundaries to match, do you know what I mean? Like you're kind of like it's like chicken and egg, but you start to feel as that kind of wealthy, worthy woman. If you act that first, then the things just come and you're like, oh, cool.
Did you notice as well how you met different people? Because I did. When my business started leveling up, I was like meeting all these amazing women and I was like, wow, you live near me? Like, or I would like meet someone on a podcast like you, for example, and then we become amazing friends. And like you have all these different connections when you start leveling up. And like the women I've got in my life now are so different to like 10 years. That's no disrespect to anyone I had in my life 10 years ago. Just the different conversations I have and the different level of mindset of people who are already personally developed. I'm meeting those kind of women that have read the same books as me. And, you know, it's incredible. Like, do you find that as well? Like
100%. I think when I started my business, it was really lonely. I was so lonely and I felt, because you do feel like, especially if you're into this stuff, it's kind of, it feels mainstream in our pocket of the personal development world. But as soon as you step out of that world and you go to the pub with, say, your school friends or your old work colleagues, you're all of a sudden like the odd one out and people are like, weird, what are you talking? Can feel like, oh, maybe I am weird, or you know. And so when I first started my business and I first started acting as if, you know, like buying nice flowers for the home, like getting my nails done.
Oh yeah, I do this now.
All of these things, you know, I had people that were like, that doesn't make sense, like, you know, it didn't, I felt very isolated. And so one of the first things that I wanted to manifest were beautiful friendships, like, and that has been like, I've just got off retreat with two of my best friends who one's a money mindset coach, one's a health coach, you know, both making, just, it's not even about the money, but both have huge aspirations for what they want, both have created so much success in such a short period of time. And like the depth of those conversations are like amazing. I just didn't even really realize that friendships like that were even possible. So manifesting doesn't have to be just about money. Manifesting can be like powerful girl, like female friendships, relationships. It can be anything, and that's what I find so magical about manifesting.
And you're doing that again, did you say? So you are using those practices again. What's your, I actually normally ask this at the end of the podcast, but we're going to go into it now because it flows really well. I always ask at the end, if we were to fast forward a year from now, and imagine in a year you suddenly stumbled across my podcast, like it came up and it was me and you on it, like you're going to make a manifestation today. Tell us what you're going to manifest in a year from now, or what you are manifesting. What's future Jenna? What's the year ahead looking like for you? So that when you listen back, you'll be like, oh my God, I fucking said that a year ago. Now it's come true.
No, it's happened. This is really good timing actually, because last week I think I reset those 5-year goals. So for me, like the 5-year goals are, I want to help 10,000 women. Like, I mean, like personally help 10,000 women and have like 10,000 transformations. For me, it's about writing like a best-selling book. I feel like there's so much that I have to give in that area, and that feels like a big stretch for me. And personally, like I'm so ready for like that next house, which is hilarious because we've only just bought this one, but I'm like, and I love this house dearly, but I'm like, I want a kitchen island and a bifold door.
Oh, you're the same as me. Exactly the same as me. I love everything about my home, but I'm like, we need a kitchen island. We need to bash that. What is it about that kitchen island? I'm like, I can take so much better content if I have a kitchen island. I have this. My content will be so much nicer on Instagram if I have a kitchen island. That's all my goes. And tell us what your go-to kind of, we have something within Sacred Souls called the spiritual toolbox. So it's where our members can go if they need tapping, EFT or breathwork or meditation. What are your top go-tos, like when you're maybe fallen out of flow a little bit, out of alignment, or you're just feeling like you're having a funky day? What are your top pick-me-ups? What do you do?
So for me, if I have a funky day, like it all lies in that consistency. So when I think about these big goals, right, let's say having a best-selling book, that's like a fucking huge goal, and I'm not even like on the ladder yet because I'm like, oh my god, like I haven't even researched how to do it. So when I have a big goal like that, I believe it all lands in the consistent action that you take daily. So for me, like I know that what's going to get me to that goal are the thing, like the daily non-negotiables or the weekly non-negotiables, which is like looking after my body, going to the gym, dancing regularly, breath work, like just getting myself into that like amazing headspace. So that's typically how, and if I'm having like a funky day, I will, and this is like really embarrassing actually, but there's like one podcast episode that I've recorded, so I actually like listened to my own podcast episode. I think there's like something where it's listening to yourself when you're in flow and you're in a good place. It reminds you like, oh no, I'm not a piece of shit, actually this was pretty good, or like, kind of like
well done. That's good. That's a good tip. I like that one.
Sometimes I'll like go back to listen to my like a really good episode. Music is such a power, like so powerful in so many different ways. So like music is a great thing for me, breath work, obviously, moving my body. And if none of those work, I'll just wipe the day. I'll wipe the day clean and be like, cool, Made in Chelsea on the sofa, we'll try again tomorrow.
I like Made in, that's one of my little favorites, Made in Chelsea, but I don't know, they've lost their way a little bit recently. They need to bring some different characters back in. I think I need Binky back in there.
Oh my god, they're all too young now. I'm like, oh my god.
I know. I feel so old when I watch that program. I love that then, but you've got your different techniques that you use, because it's so important for us to regulate ourselves. And you're right, because this is one thing I teach a lot, and you haven't listened to my podcast, but I talk about this a lot on the podcast, is that always peel the onion back about 3 days. So what have you done for the last 3 days? Like, have you trained? Are you eating shit food? Did you eat pizza yesterday? Like all the things that we do the 3 days before leading up to that moment is normally why we have that big kind of drop in energy as well. So
yeah, I love that. I think I'm on a bit of a health journey at the moment, and it really reminds what you said about peeling that onion back really reminds me of that, because I think so often we think these kind of dips and these funks are actually random, and we're like, oh well, it's just random that this has happened. But actually when you do track it back, especially because I've been doing that from a health perspective as well, it does start to make sense, and you're like, oh okay, actually there is a reason for this. And sometimes when you find that reason, it helps. You're like, oh, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. And it's like that knowledge is power thing, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, what can I do to change that? What action can I take now that will, change the trajectory of how I feel? So I love that.
I'm doing exactly the same. This year I've become not obsessed, but like obsessed in a good way about my health. So I've signed up to this app. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. And it's called Thriva. And you can set off and you do all these bloods.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, have you done it? My friend just told me, I think I spoke about it on a podcast ages ago about how tired I kept getting. And one of my listeners messaged and said, her name was Karen, actually, so I love that I gave her a shout out here because she listens all the time. You must sign up to this app, and then they send you all the stuff through, and you pinprick, and you send all that. And I literally ticked everything, like cholesterol, thyroid, B12, B9. I was like, tick, 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 tick. I like ticking everything, and I had to untick some because they were like, there's too many, there's not going to be enough blood here for us to take a sample. I was like, I have to untick some of them. So I was like, I'm getting everything done. I'm like, I want it all checked, because I'm 43, nearly 43, but I'm not like maybe perimenopause or who knows, but I was getting all like these weird symptoms of just like feeling tired and lethargic. And I was like, I'm eating healthy. I'm doing all these things. I'm probably like you. I'm just like, right, I need to see what's going on here and get some, because you can't get it from the NHS. So I phoned up my doctor and they're like, well, we can test for thyroid, but that's it. And you're like, it's not great our NHS for stuff like that. So I thought, right, I'm going to go off and do my own little journey and find out what's going on with myself. Have you done stuff like that? Have you done tests and things? Have you been doing?
So at the moment I'm working with a health coach, and we did kind of similar to Thriver, but it's called a hair mineral test, and you basically send off like a sample of your hair, and they will tell you what minerals you're deficient in. So it was really interesting for me because obviously I do, so this is with one of my best friends, Sarah. She's called Sarah Elizabeth Health on Instagram, definitely worth a follow. So obviously I do all of my nervous system work, which is the emotional, the mindset, but she does nervous system in a completely different way, which is all about the physical stress on the body. And so what was interesting was emotionally, I'm not stressed, like I feel good. However, physically, my body is in stress mode because I'm not, my minerals are kind of all out of whack. And so that's really interesting, right? Because she was like, of all of the things, I wouldn't have thought your nervous system, because of what you do, would be the issue. But she was like, your body is in physical stress, even though emotionally you feel really good. However, you are running on adrenaline. And so it was like,
this is what I think's going on with me. This is honestly what I think, because my mum's like, you're such a go all the time. You're always doing physical exercise. You're always like on the go. You're always like, I'm always lit as well. I'm always like really happy. And but then someone has also said to me online, they're like, it's probably because you are like your body is physically going, can you just fucking sit still for 5 minutes and just chill? So I bet that's what I'm going to get her details from you, because I've never heard of that, getting minerals checked through your hair. That's amazing.
It's like loads of things as well. So
let's just promote her here. Tell me what she does. So you take a strand of your hair and then she just like sends it off, and then you
send it off to the lab. The lab checks it, and then she will interpret your results for you and then create a plan off the back of that. So it's like,
that's so good. That's exactly what I need. I need someone to just be like, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to take. Bosh, I need her details.
It's absolutely fantastic. And I think because when the emotional side is so important, but the physical, like to the same extent that the physical side is. So this is what I find so interesting. And it's almost working on my health has been, it's always, when in 2020, I kind of opened the door to spirituality, law of attraction, manifesting. And I felt the same way. I was like, oh my God, there is so much to learn. And then you kind of learn it, and then you feel really good. And then now I'm opening the door to health, and I'm like, holy shit balls, there's so much to learn.
And I'm a nurse, like my background is nursing, and I'm like, God, I should know all this stuff, but we don't get taught anything like that when we're doing nurse training.
It's not on any, like, it's crazy. Like the doctor doesn't even really like, you know, not to like bash doctors in any way, like I'm sure they do amazing work, but you know, women's health is not prioritized in the NHS, right? So like learning all of this stuff for the first time, I'm like, wow, okay. It feels kind of overwhelming and feels a bit like, oh my God, like there's just so much to learn. However, you know, balancing the two is so important, right? Because there's no
insanely important, because if you're trying to manifest and you're trying to build a business, which you are, and you've already grown an incredible business and grow it even more, and I'm just in the new beginnings of one, and you're not right in your body and you're not in sync with your mind, body, spirit, all of that, then it is going to have a massive detrimental effect on everything around you, your relationships, your health, everything. And so have you seen a difference in that? Have you seen a difference since you've been working with her and taking the right vitamins and things? Have you seen a difference already?
It's really early days for me at the moment. I've been like a month on the journey, and like what kind of happens is like it gets worse before it gets better, right? It's the same with
it's gonna purge, isn't it?
Phase at the moment where it's like my skin's gone crazy, like my period's gone a bit weird, like all of these different things. But you kind of, it is that getting worse before it gets better. So I'm in that phase at the moment. But you know, it's not like huge changes that I'm making. It's like sustained, like it's just like little things like extra supplements, like I'm putting sodium in my water, so I'm putting some sea salt in my water, like little tiny things like that are really helping me. And then I know, because all of the mindset stuff and all the belief stuff, like I have such an unshakable mindset now, like very few things will faze me in business, to be completely honest with you. So now I know if I can get my health to that same level, like then you just become completely unstoppable, right? So that's the journey that I'm kind of on at the moment.
And think of how many people you'll help when you saw
Oh.
well, you've already told me about it, so yeah, it's just spreading that wonderful word, isn't it? It's been so good having you on here today and just free flow talking. It's always the best, isn't it? We never know what's going to come up on here. But have you got anything that you want? Actually, first of all, where can people find you? So you have promoted your lovely friend. Let's promote you. Where's your Instagram? What's your Instagram handle and your website?
You can find me on JennaO'Keefe.co. Everything is JennaO'Keefe.co, so you can find me on there. And what am I doing at the moment? So I'm launching a really exciting mini mind in August, which is coming up. I'm kind of teasing it at the moment, so I'm not quite ready to share it just yet. And I'm doing something really exciting in November, which is in person. So because of with like agoraphobia and kind of holding myself like back in the house, I'm actually just so passionate about bringing like-minded women together, women that want to collaborate, not compete, that want to shout each other out, that want to have amazing experiences. So I'm going to be hosting something really, really exciting in November in London.
Hit me up. You have to let me know about that one. That's like on my doorstep.
Well,
I always see all these events and it's like Liverpool and I'm like, it's just too far.
No,
even though it's not. I'm like, London, I can get to London really quick. That sounds incredible. So people join up to her mailing list so then you won't miss out on anything. And she's got an incredible podcast as well. Tell us about your podcast. So
my podcast is called Confident AF, which is like basically my whole fucking brand, to be honest. Like Confident AF.
Just even the picture of you like kicking the street, I was like, I love this girl's picture. It's so cool.
It's a space where I just kind of riff unapologetically about how possible it is for you to feel good in your body, in your business, in your career, in your relationships. And it's just full of pep talks to help you get your motivation sky high. So yeah, it's a wonderful space.
Love it. It's a good podcast. It's a good one to listen to on your walk, girls, when you need a Monday. I like you on a Monday. You're good on my Monday morning walk. But anyway, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your space. And anything I can do back for you, just shout. More than
love it.
Anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm sending you a huge virtual squishy hug, and I hope today's episode has helped giving you some inspiration, energy, and a light bulb moment. So do share your light bulbs or any takeaways you've had on your socials and tag me in, as I absolutely love to hear from you. So if you love to share, you are going to love my giveaway. Every month I'm running a new competition to win a large moon box packed full of crystals, candles, affirmation cards, incense, my Love Yourself to the Moon and Back journal, and a real surprise of spiritual treats that change every month. So listen up if you want to win and get your hands on this, because all you have to do is, number 1, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Number 2, tag me on your socials with either a post, video or story of your top takeaway of that specific episode. Be sure to tag me in as @RebeccaWellstead-Green so that I see it, and you'll be entered into my free prize draw. So from my heart to yours, lots of love to the moon and back. Have a fabulous week, beautiful, and I can't wait to spend time with you again next week. Mwah.